Hi, my name's Nev. I teach Year 11 and 12 in a Sydney high school, maths and computing. Now, these are the results of students on a recent assessment task, broken up into lots of parts, basically marks. All these results are based on this percentage mark here. They're broken into groups, into decile groups, and I've added a row at the top and bottom to allow for the gaps at the either side here. Now I know with this mouse you probably can't see my mouse directly, so I'm trying to click so that you can see where I'm pointing to, but the bottom and the top of the graph is created by the row at the top and bottom. Now in our general math system curriculum, students must be able to create this frequency, polygon and histogram. You'll notice the polygon is going to the centers of the histogram. Now they also need to create a cumulative frequency, histogram and polygon. Now that polygon is in orange and it is also called an ogive. If we want to create medians and quartiles on grouped data, using this ogive is more accurate than using the brackets, the cumulative frequency brackets here, which would just tell us 25 or 35 or 45. Okay, so when I went to create this electronic ogive here, I had lots of trouble, and although I knew I could do it because I had done it a few years ago back here. This video is just to lay out the steps. They're quite complex. Just to show that this is live, if I change that frequency to 2, you'll see that the graphs change. I'm going to change it back to 0 because it lines up with what I've already got written in these columns here. Okay, let's start. I could create my first histogram just with one column, but I'm actually going to do it with the 2 columns and the headings because it helps me understand what's going on later on. I'll just create a double histogram and shift it down here underneath. Now, what I really want is one of these to be the polygon and the other one to be the histogram. Because I've got brown as the polygon up there, I'll click on the blue for the histograms. Notice if I click again, I just get one column. If I click once, I get all the columns. If I come over, hang on. If I right click now and I change the series chart type, I can change this to a polygon. I might actually change it to one which has got dots in the middle. So now you'll see that this is not right, but the histogram is right. So let's now go to our data. We'll select our data. You can see that the F is actually selecting from B2 to 8, which is really what we want. I could copy that, or I could come here to X and say, all right, we really want to copy backspace B2 to 8. And we've now got what we want. Similar to the top up there. Say, okay, let's grab those columns and the layout of the columns and reduce the gap width to 0. Changes it from a column graph to a histogram. These little labels now we don't really need. If we want to label these, yes, I've deleted those. If we did want to label these, we could go into the data, edit the data, and X is really the histogram, so it's the frequency, and say OK, and we would see that. Oh, I've done it the wrong way around. Anyway, you get the idea. Let's do this complex one, which is the cumulative frequency. For the cumulative frequency, I've created these numbers starting at 1.5 down to 7.5. There's no data in the top and the bottom. I'm going to hold Control and click the cumulative frequency column. And instead of inserting just a normal line graph or histogram, I'm going to insert a scatter graph. And that's the trick. Now you can see at the moment this scatter graph doesn't resemble the one above. There's something dodgy going on. And what it's done, because my 1.5s are to the right of my cumulative frequency, I'm going to have to swap over my data. So if I go to my data, edit it, and change this to the F column. So I'm going F2 to F8 first, and then I'm comparing that to C2 to C8. Then we should be looking a little more like the one above. All right, now that's done, we want to add another chart to here, another set of data. So I'm going to go right click, select the data. I'm going to add a series name. Let's call this CF histogram. Doesn't really matter what I put in here at the moment because I'm going to lose it. So I'm just going to say OK and OK. I want it as a histogram, so I'm going to click on it, right click, change the chart type, and that histogram I want to change to a histogram. Okay, now it's obviously not getting the right data, so let's go back in here again. The reason I've changed that now is because when I edit it, I've only got one row of data and not two. Now my data really should come from here. So we've done this now. All I need to do is reduce that gap width to 0, and I have got the same sort of histogram and polygon that I've got further up. My labels are no good yet though, so let's go in again to our data and the histogram, and let's edit the data. Let's edit the label, and the labels that I want are here. Let's go back. So now I've got the exact same labels that I had up there. I've got my polygon going to the corners. If I want to put in medians and quartiles, I know that I've got 17 scores here. The median will be at 9 scores. So I could put in a line here at 9 and drop it down. I could change its weight to 2.5, and I could change its color so that it stands out, purple. And you can drop it down and you can find a more accurate median than you would just from the X numbers. So that's really the guts of it. You can put in your chart titles and labels. Let's just have a quick look at that. Let's go into chart tools, add chart. If I want to have a axis title, primary, horizontal, I can put it there, my vertical there, and I've already got a chart title. So I'll leave the rest to you. Thank you for watching.